would make parents' lives so much harder? Why is it okay for corporations to undermine parental authority? One of the ways, the major way that corporations market to really young children, the younger children, is through brand licensing. Brand licensing is when a media image is leased to other products and is on the package of other products. A media image is used to sell other products. So that leads to SpongeBob SquarePants, Bob Sponge. Now, I would like to say right now that I have no idea about the sexual orientation of SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't know if this made the Brazilian news, but about a year or so ago, the right wing got all upset about SpongeBob SquarePants and said that SpongeBob SquarePants was gay and therefore a bad influence on children. So what I found is that my left-wing friends and colleagues all over the country were up in arms about this and very upset and were defending SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob SquarePants is innocent. SpongeBob SquarePants is good. SpongeBob SquarePants is for children. And I was sitting in Boston with my head in my hands, thinking, this is the wrong argument. SpongeBob SquarePants is not for children. SpongeBob SquarePants isn't even good for children. SpongeBob SquarePants is a tool to sell children stuff. Now, I had a father come up to me afterwards, and I said that, he said, you know, this is really depressing to me. The only way that I could relate to my 9-year-old son is we sit down and we watch SpongeBob SquarePants together. It's a good show, and it's a fine show. I don't have a problem with the program. I have a problem with the marketing. And I think it's really sad that parents can't take their kids to the movies, or they can't watch television without all of the products that now go along with it. Everything is selling children's stuff. I mean, the kids don't shut off the marketing. You know, they don't do that. They don't, you know, say, oh, I'm going to learn how to read, but I'm not going to learn about McDonald's that this program loves. They don't, you know, they don't do that. They're whole beings. They absorb the whole thing. And I think we have to be honest with ourselves about that. And I think that the people who make television programs need to be honest with themselves. You can't say a program is good for children if it's partnering with junk food. Childhood obesity is a worldwide public health problem. SpongeBob SquarePants in 2004 brought $1.5 billion to Nickelodeon in licensing fees. SpongeBob SquarePants was Kraft's best-selling pasta in 2002. Here is SpongeBob SquarePants as food, SpongeBob SquarePants as more food, SpongeBob SquarePants as fish food. Because the fish are asking for that, you know? Of course, if it was only SpongeBob SquarePants, if SpongeBob SquarePants was the only movie coming out with products, it wouldn't be a problem. But there are all these movies coming out with products. And that leads us to Star Wars. And that's a joke. I don't know if it translates into Portuguese. There's a kind of dessert in the United States called death by chocolate. So here we have Darth by chocolate, Darth Vader. When Star Wars came out, the Campaign for Commercial-Free Childhood we decided that we were going to count the number of food promotions, just food, coming out with the movie. We counted 16 separate promotions for junk food for 24 different brands with this one movie. One of the promotions was for M&Ms. And one of the M&Ms promotions was they put out packages with different scenes from the movie on the back of each package. There were 75 packages. You would have to eat 45 pounds of M&Ms in order to get all of these products. Now, the other thing that was very interesting about Star Wars this time wasn't about food. It was about violence. George Lucas, who produces and directs and owns every single thing about Star Wars, including the marketing, unlike a lot of producers who have to work through a studio. But George Lucas makes every decision. He was interviewed in a very prestigious magazine in the United States. It's called Vanity Fair. I don't know if it's prestigious, but it's popular. Magazine in the United States called Vanity Fair. And he said, you know, this Star Wars movie, this isn't an exact quote, but approximately what he said is, this movie is different from the other Star Wars. It's more brutal. And it's too brutal for young children. Parents of young children, 4- or 5-year-old children, should be warned. And then he had all these Star Wars toys that were marketed to 4- and 5-year-olds. So I got a call from a reporter from a newspaper called USA Today. And he said, so what do you think about this violence? You know, and George Lucas said this was too violent. And now there's a word that comes to my mind when I think of somebody who says one thing and does another thing, right? And the word is hypocritical, right? So I said to this reporter that I thought it was hypocritical for George Lucas to say the movie was too brutal for young children and then to market it with the toys to young children. And that was published in the newspaper, and I got hate mail. I got hate mail. I got angry letters from people who were horrified that I could criticize George Lucas. I didn't know that you weren't allowed to criticize George Lucas in the United States. That was sort of shocking to me, but people were really upset about that. George Lucas can do no wrong. He gave us Star Wars. But I think it's hypocritical. And that marketing, the toys, that's the other thing that is so sad, is that most of the toys that children have today are linked to media. That kids can't even play with toys without being marketed to today. The US government, the Institutes for Medicine, just did a huge review of the literature of marketing and its relationship, food marketing and its relationship to childhood obesity. And they came to the conclusion that marketing has an impact on children's food choices, on their food requests, on their diets, and their health. It's not the sole cause of childhood obesity. Nothing is the sole cause of anything human beings do. We're complicated people. So, you know, when the food industry will say it's not the cause, they can't say it's the cause. Well, we can't say that it's the cause, but it's a factor. It's a factor in eating disorders. It's a factor in precocious, irresponsible sexuality. It's a factor in youth violence. It's a factor in children's creative play, in the erosion or the destruction of children's creative play, which, as I said before, is the foundation of learning. It's a factor, certainly in underage drinking and alcohol and tobacco consumption, I mean, that's for sure. And it's a factor, major cause of the acquisition of materialistic values, the idea that things will make me happy, products will make me happy. So they have this toy on television that's advertised, and it's a very glitzy toy.